Shane with Yes to Jesus Ministries, and today I just want to bring you a word from John chapter 1. I want to draw your attention to verse 29, and this is where we see John the Baptist start to make some very bold proclamations about who Jesus is. He says, "Behold the Lamb of God, who takes away the sin of the world." Now, his disciples were there and they're hearing this. And this is someone they would trust. This guy's set himself apart from all of the culture, from society, like he's living in the wilderness, dressing very differently, eating locusts and honey. And here he makes this proclamation. And on down in verse 35, you'll see that he says it again the next day. He sees Jesus walking. A couple of his disciples are there with him, with John. And he says, "Behold the Lamb of God." And so at this point, they've heard it a couple days in a row, and they decide to follow Jesus. And Jesus turns to them, sees them following him. He says, "What do you seek?" What a beautiful question. And he tells us in the word very plainly, "Seek and you shall find." He's talking about himself. And they say, "Rabbi." Now that right there would tell them that they want to learn from him. They're there to follow him. And they say, "Where are you staying?" In other words, we want to be with you. And that should be our heart posture. Once we see that he is the Lamb of God, that we should follow. They took action. And not only that, when he came to them and interacted with them, he said, "Yes, we want to be where you are." He says, "Come and see." Love that. Now, I just want to point out here that one of these as well is Andrew, who is Peter's brother, right? And so he goes to Peter and he says, "We found the Christ, we found the Messiah." Now, just think for a moment about maybe some of these conversations that Andrew and Peter might have had before this. Now, Andrew was out, probably in the wilderness with John and following him. This kind of fringe guy who would have had some, lore around him, being the son of Zechariah, who had a vision in the temple. And so they would have perhaps been debating, was John it? Is there another coming? And so his brother comes to him and he says, "Oh, we found him. It's the Messiah." And so I would say it's really no mystery that later we see in Matthew chapter 16, where Jesus says, "Who do you say I am?" And Simon Peter answers, "You are the Messiah." Well, that's how he came to follow him in the first place. His brother told him that he was, and he believed him, and he came and put everything away and followed him. And it's interesting, kind of the chain of information there, where it started with John the Baptist, who proclaimed it. Andrew believed it and he followed him. And then he went and told Peter, and Peter came and followed him. And then you see that exchange later in Matthew 16, which says, "Who do you say I am?" "You're the Messiah." Obviously, Peter had seen so many things, and it just confirmed what he was told by his brother. But I want to draw your attention back to where the disciples of John had said, "Rabbi, where are you staying? I want to be where you are," essentially. Jesus said, "Come and see." I'd like to suggest that this is a parallel verse, or perhaps a sister verse, if you want to say it that way, to Revelation 22:17. On this side of eternity, Jesus says, "Come and see." We have that invitation. And once we've gone through that journey and sanctified, get to the other side, get past the white throne judgment in Revelation 20:11 through 15, where the wheat and the chaff are separated, the sheep and the goats, you see that represented in Matthew 25. See, all those who are not going to be part of the bride are gone. And the bride and the Spirit say, "Come." And then the bride and the bridegroom are one forever. So while we're here on this side, come and see. And we're in to say to him. May this bless you.